Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Clary. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. That's been an interesting morning.
It
I
has been.
know.
It's really been something else. I'm really happy with all the discussions. Thank you very much, Adelia, for doing a great job.
You're
And
welcome.
we'll proceed now to our masterclass with Miss Clary Salandy.
So you want me to do the introductions one time, get straight to it? Yay.
That's right.
All right. The exciting part where we get to learn so much more. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me the honor and the pleasure to introduce today's masterclass leader, a true trailblazer in the world of carnival arts, Clary Sandy. With over 30 years of groundbreaking experience, Clary is not only an award-winning carnival and theater designer, but also a visionary whose work has redefined how costumes and presentations tell a story. As the artistic director of Mahogany Carnival Design, she has elevated the art of carnival, blending cultural heritage with innovative artistry to create design that inspire, captivate, and unite. Clary's work, hold on a second, let me mess this up because the work is working. Clary's work has graced some of the world's most prestigious stages, from the Notting Hill Carnival to UNESCO performances and the London 2012. In fact, my favorite year, that's when I went for Miss World, the
Oh, wow.
Olympics in 2012 handover ceremony. That's amazing. When I read this, I was like, oh my God. Her dedication to storytelling, youth engagement, and community representation has made her a pillar in the industry and a force to inclusivity and creative excellence. In this masterclass, Clary will take us behind the scenes of her extraordinary career, sharing invaluable insights into designing impactful carnival presentations, from the role of storytelling in costume design to the practical techniques and merge artistic vision with technical precision. This session promises to leave you inspired and equipped to elevate your own work. Please join me and welcome the incomparable Clary Sandy to the Global Carnival Summit 2024 stage. Clary, the stage is all yours. Wow. Well, first of all, it's Salandy, Clary Salandy, a really well-trained name.
Oh gosh,
Salandy.
yes, Sam. Wow,
Yeah, I'm
wow.
a
I
Salandy.
rename
Yay.
you. I rename
So
you.
thank you so
Yes.
much. I don't know who wrote that, but boy, can I have a copy? It's
You can, you
amazing.
can. I
Yeah,
will.
it's something fantastic. Hello, everyone. It's
Yes.
such a pleasure to be here, and it's so exciting to see Carnival studied, spoken about in this forum on a world stage. We so deserve it, I think, after so many years, and such a great lift for our culture. I'm going to dive into my presentation. I've got lots of images that I hope you will enjoy seeing, and I hope it raises a lot of questions. I'm taking you on my creative journey and how themes have arisen through my lived experience. Share
Okay,
my
sure.
screen.
Yes.
We're going to go back. Stop. We're going to try to see if we can get it to share sound. Yesterday we did have an issue with that. Share sound. Come on, it did it just now. Yes. Share. Share. Now we're going to go here. And we're going to share. Lovely. Where is it there? Not up at the top. Okay, so now I need to go into here and create a slideshow for you. Just to say, I am not very techy, so forgive me. I am very hands-on, practical, but not hugely techy with the AI and the computer. But here we go, guys. Mahogany is the organization I created with Michael Ramdin, another Trini, Speedy, his name is. We've worked with Wayne, and he's worked with Peter, Wayne Barkley, that is. So, we really steeped in the tradition of Trinidad. But for me, the spirit of carnival, that word spirit, is really very much at the heart of everything that I tried to do. So here is my first introduction to, it's called Out of the Blue.
We sit there thinking, oh, after the blue, oh, where does the idea come from? And here we have a simple design. Just a lady in the middle, some bit of cloth hanging out the sides. But this wonderful lady becomes and transforms from her little skirt. She opens, when you open your mind, your imagination, you can see how inside of the compartments of your mind, the color, the thoughts, the imagination. This design transforms from the simplicity of the gown to the openness of the mind. And you can see in it, for me, it encompasses everything that's amazing about a wonderful queen costume. It's simple, but it does show the technique. It shows ingenuity and use of materials and mechanics. And boy, she can really wear a costume, this one. It's
Can I ask
amazing.
a question? Because this is really out of the blue.
Well, if you ask questions all the way through, I'm not going to get through to the end.
No, just this
Save
one
that
time.
question.
Just this one time. Because I'm saying that it opened, but how do you get it open?
Well, because it's got a technical design, and some things are really simple. I just did it for you. Your elbow, your finger, all the answers are there. Sometimes it's the simplest thing that will make it work. So these two things open, and we put something in between the two. It's not rocket science. What is rocket science is how you manage the weight of the material out and how you sew each one of those panels to create that wonderful effect. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to have an amazing team of people that we have worked together for many years. So we have evolved techniques and skills. And I have an amazing fabric engineer, and Speedy is an amazing technical engineer. So we're in good company to create amazing things. So I'm going to shift. And the reason for making this sort of thing, this is the Dogon tribe in West Africa. And they are, for me, the biggest inspiration because this is the original. There's nothing, who are they looking at? We are being inspired by things on the computer and things on the TV, but they didn't have that. This is coming out of their lived experience. And in the middle here, I call it the ladder to heaven. But what we're really looking at here is a ceremony. This is a funeral ceremony. It's a celebration of life. And this is where the spirit is going to move from the earth to the heavens. And each of these characters here, we have the stilt walkers. These are the people that are from West Africa. This is from Mali. Some of the people who were taken from there and taken to the Caribbean are coming with this as their DNA. So that we are descendants of this ritual ceremony kind of thing. These are not costumes. These are ceremonial attire. We wear costumes. This is not a costume. This is ceremonial, sacred costume for part of delivering a ceremony that is to do with the space between heaven and earth. That is really important to me and to us because within our carnival tradition, the king and the queen and that space between heaven and earth, and the way we do our costumes, this is somewhere sitting at the root and the origins of our DNA. And as we go from there, and they were taken to the Caribbean, and then out of their experience from slavery, and this idea of keeping traditions alive and representing your lived experience. I love this mass. This is the book mass where, he's Lucifer, the essence of evil, the depiction of evil, the shape of the head, the use of the book and the enactment, ticking off the names of the slaves. He was the overseer. So there's a lesson in how the language of Carnival was used by the early people to create these amazing traditional characters that tell such a poignant, painful story of their experience and where they are today. So today they still exist in Carnival, and we see them and say, oh, look, that's old mass. Well, those old masks are very, very important because it is the manner in which they use their visual language that has inspired me. They tell the truth through their enactment. And so, taking on that as a thought, here we have the spirit of emancipation. This costume was designed for the anniversary of the 200th anniversary of the abolition of the slave trade. So working in London in the Notting Hill Carnival, This is really important for us, the abolition of the slave trade and commemorating that. So that year, this theme of mine, the spirit of the imagination, here's how this design works. We have a headpiece. See it down there? That headpiece is like pain. It's bent over, the head drops, and the hands are tied. So that is where the design begins, with the pain of being in captivity. But what is emancipation? So the next piece, this one here, where you can see again another enlargement of the figure, abstracted, to give a sense again of being tied together. Oops, go back. Of being tied together. And then from there, we go to the release, the freedom, the enactment of freedom, where we see the three figures, the Trinity for Trinidad, and freedom. The three figures are set free to dance. And here's just what that looked like in performance. Okay, so that gives you a sense of ingenuity with movement. We say that our work has inherent movement, and we want the performer to be able to move it very easily, but the enactment is, for me, very important. And the drama and transformation within the design is a part of presenting something in an original manner. Now, this design is called Rivers of Blood. So with emancipation and after emancipation, the next movement of people from us into the UK was through the Windrush generation. And we received in the Caribbean invitations to come here and rebuild England after the Blitz. But that was not really a great thing for us necessarily, because it was actually, England was a very hostile place at that time for us. And there was a speech written by a politician called Enoch Powell that was called Rivers of Blood. He was predicting that if you bring an influx of all these people from elsewhere, it will cause animosity and it will bring about turbulence in the society. And so this design takes that element of the speech that is called Rivers of Blood. And you can see in the design just the simplicity of the river shapes, fluidity of the lines, giving a sense of the flow of the river. And we have a tiny video just to show, it's not that tiny, how that costume works. Turbulence, fluidity of red, costume plays with red, plays with shapes. Hey. And that's what's important about that too, is that that's my daughter. So passing on the tradition is very, very, very important. She may be born here in the UK and her lived experience is of the Notting Hill Carnival. But boy, she had plenty Trini DNA inside, as you can see. So in terms of that Rivers of Blood manifesting out in those big shapes that turn and swirl and move with inherent movement. And I'm taking you through the next phase, the context. So we came to that. And then the next major context for us, this was during the lockdown, of course, was the whole George Floyd moment, which we could not ignore. So this was our way. It was during the lockdown. And so there was no carnival at the time. So there was a film. So we were in a studio where we were able to present ideas for the carnival as a virtual carnival rather than a carnival on the street. But I'm trying to show how you can tackle very difficult topics in a way that is sympathetic both to the families and to the people. So here we have his face in a sort of coppery haze, but he's inside of this little cage that is very transparent. So it's as if he's a spirit. And so you can see the energy of the man inside. And when he's performing, the man is moving. He is the energy. It's like George Floyd is alive always within the spirit. And we come back to spirit because his spirit is what we try to show in this as a tribute to him. So that's how you can manage. That's one way we approach something as difficult as that whole thing, which we all witnessed. So Carnival being contemporary, dealing with contemporary issues at the time when they happen. So I think as a designer, it's what we choose is really very important because we are the visual griots. You know, we're creating the history and the culture for the next generation. And so the next thing I'm going to show you is the theme that we created for last Carnival, which was in August. And again, looking at the contemporary context of today and choosing something that will resonate with my community and the rest of the world, we chose a theme that was called Diaspora, a Cry for Peace. You know, choosing the theme is always so important. You look around, what's going on? What's the most important thing that we need to speak about? And this is what the world is at war. So Diaspora Cry for Peace explores some of that situation that we're in. And so the band begins, you know, we have something called a flag woman in front of our band. Well, our flag woman is this wings of peace, this dove that is waving her wings for peace as the dove of peace that opens that story of Diaspora, a Cry for Peace. It continues with ancestral voices return. Again, never been able to move far away from what's going on in our ancestral world. Now, what is diaspora? You know, we live in the Caribbean. I'm here in England. So I'm of the Caribbean diaspora here in England. I don't belong here. I belong there, but I have made my home here. And part of what the issues are in the world is that people have made their homes for generations in other places and believe that that's where they belong. And they do contemporarily. But actually, their roots and their historic ancestry may have started somewhere else. So the world is a diaspora. And so with this, I celebrate the Ashanti people from West Africa. You know, the slave trade and the slave castles are there in Ghana. And so this celebrates that wonderful culture out of which Carnival comes. And then the next section in diaspora is the village, because again, the village is our home. In our ancestral home is the village where the community starts. But actually, we then leave the village and we go somewhere else in the world to create a new village in a new town, a new home, and we want to create a safe space, like the home that we remember, that is a safe space for our community. So the village is the next design that holds on to the traditional space. And then following that, in that diaspora, is how we end up going to these different places that we think we belong to. So we have the theme Exodus. So you could start with saying the first Exodus starts in the Bible with Moses and the movement of the people. You could say the other contemporary one is in Exodus from Bob Marley's music. There was a new film. But actually, there has always been an Exodus. You've got the Exodus through slavery. You've got the Exodus through the Windrush. And you still have Exodus today. We have the boat people coming across the channels. You have them coming in America. It's a never-ending story. People looking for a better way of life. Now, this is a positive and yet a scary design, because we can see the capes that are representing the turbulence of the water, but we see the faces of the people. And if you know what the Zong, if you've heard of the Zong, it's really important to think about that, because that is a ship where they threw 300 slaves overboard. So today, with what's going on all around us with the world, some things haven't changed. Man's inhumanity to man hasn't moved along very far. So Exodus continues as people search for better ways of life, new places to call home. But because of that move and that people not living in harmony together, we end up in a situation where there's floods of tears. So today the world is at war. And so the story is that we have floods of tears. You look at television, you see war in this country, war in that country, children dying. And even the earth, look what happened in Spain. Even the earth is crying and flooding, floods everywhere. In Trinidad, lots of floods. All around the world, this flood is there. So in this design, we're taking the eye and pouncing shapes out of it. The tears are bouncing from that eye, and the red representing the bloodshed that is still being created as we hurt each other through war. And that follows on to beginning of how do you create a transformation back to a positive light? And so we have Warriors for Peace. I did put that title in. Warriors for Peace is the first children's section. And because they are the next generation, they are the superheroes who have to take up the gauntlet and bring peace and learn to live together in harmony. And so they have a symbol of peace on their chest. They have their superhero cape and their headpiece. And so these are our Warriors for Peace in that concept. Now, how do you actually create peace? You do that because you have to look inside yourself. If each person on this earth looked inside themselves for their own light of peace, then that will bring about peace everywhere, we hope. So this design is telling that story. Search for your own light and look for the peace within. And then share peace everywhere. So search for the light is what this design is exploring. And you can see that we have the light energy exploding from the purple representing the darkness into the light. And then, I must admit, I didn't really like this drawing when I did it. Tears of joy, because once you've found your inner peace, you cry, but you cry for joy. Things are improving. The life is better. And although this was a children's section, I have to tell you, everybody loved it. And we actually had to close it really early. And as you can see, joy is manifested very much through the color and the shape and the fun of this costume. Our work is directed at a family audience. And so here I have to share a wonderful story with you. One of the ladies who wore this costume came up to me and she said, Clary, I had to choose this design. And that's because I was going through cancer. And now I'm getting to the end of that and it's positive. And so now I can shed tears of joy. You don't know how people are going to react when we create work. So she was in this section and she absolutely loved it, enjoyed it, and danced to her heart's content with the joy that is a very important part of Carnival, because joy is part of the spirit of Carnival. And you can't have peace if somebody doesn't surrender. So in the band, without designing, we had separate little characters that we put in. And so this is surrender. Big, large, white flags. Wave your flag for surrender. Wave your flag for peace. And then our final design section is Peace on Earth, which is the hope and the whole thing that the diaspora would be a place of peace. So we have our hearts, we have the world in the center of the heart, and that white simplicity and purity. That brings us almost to the end of our drawings. You've seen our designs. You can see how each costume is related to the design. And then the final section, costume in this section, was called Revelation. Carnival is a pre-Lenten Roman Catholic festival. So we ended it, so full stop to Diaspora Call for Peace is that whole understanding that where the world is walking in, there are many predictions about what we're experiencing at this point in time. And so using the description from Revelation of the white horse and the seven trumpets and a host of angels, the armies of heaven, and the light emanating when the return of the Messiah. So Revelation is the full stop to diaspora, a cry for peace. So we can have many different layers of meaning within the whole presentation. Of course, when this is going through the streets, they look at it and say, what the hell is that? It's a horse with some things. Most people don't know it's Revelation, but the judges do. And people who have been watching and following you and taking part, they know the meaning as we move through. So that is an explanation of how choosing the concept of diaspora and then exploring sub-themes within that bring us back. I always like to end in a very positive, so we always end up with hope or light, and so things that are positive at the end of the story. So I hope that that's been interesting for you. And so we move on. This is Shadow over Tiananmen Square. It's quite important because it actually is the first king costume that was made with myself, Michael Ramdeen, Bob Joseph, and other associates that encouraged us to actually form Mahogany, because it was just an incredible year. And as we came through the judging point and got to the bottom of it, there was a line of police in riot gear. So there was a lived experience of the context in which the Notting Hill Carnival is evolving. This was the year that there was the massacre in Tiananmen Square in June. And I felt so strongly at the time, you know what, that this was a good way to demonstrate how Carnival can bring communities together, make a nod to what other communities could be experiencing. So Shadow over Tiananmen Square, in the middle, we have here the bright colors, the vibrant ideas of the students who were trying to be muffled. And above them is this huge, immovable regime that could only see things in black and white. Yet still, the actions of the students was actually making a difference and manipulating the decisions of the immovable regime. That's how that concept is explained, Shadow over Tiananmen Square. And this is the winning king of Carnival 1989. And we still have him. And that's a really important thing, because after making him, we loved him so much. And we realized that the work that we create has value. And like no artist throws away their art. So we do not throw away our art. So today, a young person can come and see something that was made in 1989 as part of their heritage. So keeping a hold of our costumes is very important, very difficult. But by having them, I can share that with other communities, and I can also show that Notting Hill has a strong heritage, because these costumes are still alive. They're a living archive, and we use them in different events, even today. And I'm going to share a different theme with you now, so political theme. In 2008, London won. The UK won the Olympics. So that year I was like, how do we link in with the Olympics? We're based in Harlesden, a very urban area, urban community. How do they interface with this big Olympics? They're not athletes or whatever. So we decided that year that we would do so. I looked out the window and I could see the identity. What is the cultural identity of our community? And they were wearing this big rock in their ear. And all the guys will walk around with their belts below behind their bums. And it was like, wow, there really is an urban look. So I decided to call the band Bling, Olympic Bling, because we are diamonds. And this rock was a big statement about the value of ourselves and our people. So the Olympic Bling was about trying to engage young people in 2008. to walk the road towards what they would do in 2012 when the Olympics was manifested in the UK. And so we begin with the Olympic rings, of course, but integral to our design is that gem. So in every headpiece, we have a star. We are all stars. There is something within us that is shining out that we need to develop to make our personal best, to grow our talent. So this is where the design begins, with the stars. The Olympic rings, of course, they're literally the Olympic rings, except for a diamond that stays throughout our concept. So the young children, they are precious, they're valuable, they are the jewels in the crown. That's the next generation. So the first children's section is the diamond. As you can see, we have silver foil to make it reflective, and the children in their circles. Wonderful. We had a wonderful year. And the next section is the values, the Olympic values, very important. And at this point, I start to think about the gem, that idea of the gem. So you have the lilac gem in the first one. And now we have the shine. Shine is the essence, the Olympic values, the urban language of the community, where they're using graffiti and symbols, hats and the trousers and stuff to give an urban feel. And important words that we need them to know. We want to think ingenious, that they can believe in themselves, that they can strive for excellence. They need to achieve and aspire higher. Those are the key values of being an Olympian. And then, of course, the red gem, the ruby, and the passion. To achieve your best, you've got to be passionate about it and give your all. So this theme is exploring that in the design. We have the facets of the diamond remain, and you can see as they go through the street, we have the amazing flames, all hand painted. That's the other thing. Everything we do, we tend to make from scratch, hand painted too, so we don't buy patterned fabric. So, and the diamond shape here in the facets of the skirt, handmade and sewn with our amazing team. And the queen for that band. Another thing I like to do is to keep the characters within it. And so the queen was the flame, the Olympic flame that is never extinguished, continues forever. Your passion, your flame, your talent, your will always be within you, and you need to grow it, keep it forever, make it your best. And then we take the rings, the Olympic rings. We have the gold, going for gold as the start, and it is also representing the topaz, the yellow stone. And then we have shine out. Again, you have to rise and shine, and this represents the silver medal. And then we have the bronze medal. See, it's like an echo here. It comes like an echo. And of course, it's a family thing, so little kids and everybody's participating in this presentation of the medals. And we also have the green gem, which is the emerald, and this one represents that energy as people strive for their best, reaching out. So we have the facets of the emerald, and then we have these green shapes that are just spreading out of the person, representing their energy as they grow and achieve and supersede their best. And that's a sense of the Olympics. And this is what that band looked like. So in imagining in my mind, to go from the flame through the values, through the rings as you see them. So this is what that looks like as the theme becomes real. So it's one thing to think about it, something else to make it real. And that is very important. So here it gives a sense of the design flowing through the streets as we make our way from Harlesden to Notting Hill Carnival. And if you make a good choice, then good opportunities come. So making a good choice of your theme is very, very important, and especially within the contemporary context in which you're living. So choosing in 2008 to do the designs for an Olympic theme meant that when the BBC said, do you have anything that could fit into our Olympic closing ceremony? We could say, absolutely, of course. This is the opening ceremony, sorry. You have a handover ceremony. Yes, we have. And we had all the costumes we were making at that year to welcome the Olympics in 2008. And this is the handover ceremony, me muffling there. So here you can see us on stage in our Olympic flames in front of Buckingham Palace, while Prime Minister Boris was in China receiving the flag. And at the same time, it was Children's Carnival Day. So we also had the children's band on the road at Notting Hill. This was going on in front of Buckingham Palace. So it was quite an amazing year, full of wonderful opportunities. And of course, it was televised worldwide. So for us, a really amazing step up, and very important for the young people getting involved in all the making of their costumes, and then getting the opportunity to perform at this level on that stage. And they're the performers, they were making the costumes. Yes. And so it was their moment to shine. So, and then we were hoping that we would be involved in the opening ceremony. And we were, but not to the level that we were at. You can just about see us, these four little things behind the Windrush ship. Here we are again. So we were there, but it wasn't the wonderful all singing and all dancing contribution that we had hoped we would be doing. But the handover ceremony really did give us a wonderful platform to show what we could achieve with our costumes. Now I'm going to take you on a different journey. This is called Shields of Honor. I like to use symbols within the work, and within this theme, the shield, which is again an important symbol from Africa of the warrior. It is also a shield can be given to as a prize, as an honor, as a tribute. So this costume, we have the faces of Martin Luther King, we have Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, and we also had Gandhi, who you can't see. And I've included this one because they are modern day messiahs. And that's because there was an amazing show that we were really lucky to be a part of, created by Geraldine Conner, called Carnival Messiah. And this costume was part of the street experience for that. So there's a link between our theatrical work and the street, and vice versa. We do something in the street, so let's put that on stage, or we do something on the stage and take it to the street. So that combination of on the stage, we've got lighting and all the other things that world brings, and what happens on the street is also really interesting. Now, we used to have a king and queen competition in Notting Hill, which really was fantastic because it did drive you to be more innovative with your work, but that no longer exists. So there isn't that effort to produce these amazing costumes anymore. So in terms of the concept of modern day messiahs, and this here is the final costume from that show, Carnival Messiah, which actually takes Handel's Messiah and does a carnival interpretation of it. And the very last theme is, what is the very last thing? What should the very last thing be? What should the last thing your audience see be? And we had standing ovations every night with that amazing show. It was done at the West Yorkshire Playhouse in Leeds. And so what we wanted was an iconic costume. What was the theme going to be? So in the end, I chose the moment where tongues of fire lighted on the heads of the disciples as one of the key moments within that whole story of the Messiah. And I chose that because actually we're all Carnival disciples. We're all carrying the torch for Carnival. And so in Carnival Messiah, the final costume is this one, where the head is actually like a torch of flame, surrounded by an amazing sea of flaming fabric that opens and closes and moves. As you know, I like to have lots of movement, inherent movement in the costume. So this we call the Holy Spirit, the Carnival Messiah costume. And it is based on another costume. And so sometimes the theme doesn't only come from a context or a political thing, but it can come from another design, something you've already done that's just so inspiring. You want to try that again. So this costume is actually based on Symphony of Light. Symphony of Light was the first costume that was actually used in Carnival Messiah when we were doing a pilot of it so we could apply for funding. Geraldine came and said, "Oh, what a costume you have, we need costumes." So we just pulled out all kinds of stuff that we had to dress people for the show. And then this one we had, she said, yes, so this is going to be the final costume. So we have 90 meters of hand-painted silk. And again, this idea of the light. In my design style, light appears a lot. I think that everybody has a light and that we have to use that light to light the way for others, to help others to thrive and to grow and to develop their own talent. So the Symphony of Light is a spectrum of color. And with her light, and this was designed in 1994, 1995, all that period. In 1999, we did it again. That's when we did the Tongues of Fire one. And then for Carnival of the Millennium 2000, we did Carnival Messiah on the street. And it was fantastic because Carnival Messiah won the year of the millennium. And so for us, that was a good omen. The Carnival and the side of the Messiah comes together in that story of that moment. And so choosing the right type of thing and having a style has an impact. Then we get opportunities to do other kinds of collaboration. So the Royal Opera House approached us to do a version of Swan Lake, a street experience, an urban theme. So here we have pictures. We have the tattooed swans with their patterns. And you can see here what those look like with their heads able to engage with. And we created music and everything. So being able to take the work into other platforms and other arenas has really been fantastic for us. We're very blessed with that. People approaching us, we would like you to create something like this for us. So it's good to know that Carnival is inspiring others, just like other works out there inspire us. So our swans have been very popular, and we have them, and we continue to use them after they were created. First, we had the white ones. We were able to demonstrate that would make a great ballet, and then we were commissioned to make the black and white ones. So we were able to make an interesting story of Swan Lake, making a street experience in Covent Garden in London. And so going forward, we have had, when I say we are blessed, we are so blessed. So that was one interesting thing with the swans. But here we were also inviting to do the coronation segment of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee procession. That was amazing. And I was just asking, so what would you like to do? And he said, well, the Queen was in a tree house and she was watching the animals and she was looking at elephants. And I said, well, you know what? I've got loads of elephants and I've got lots of African animals. And they just said, wow, yeah, let's go with that. And so we were able to, as we had, look back at the technologies we had used and use some of those existing technologies and redesign them, bring them back and create new things so that we could focus on designing completely new costumes for this absolutely amazing event. We were able to collaborate with other artists who work in different ways. So we have the work here of Steve Hoyt, who works in aluminium, and he did the orb and the scepter. So we love opening doors and working with creatives like this. And then the amazing work of Carl Gabriel, where he uses his wire to make these amazing sculptures. So it was a wonderful opportunity. And there are other designers we worked with as well that year in the production of that amazing parade. And up here, and I don't know if you can see it, there's a flamingo, and that flamingo is on a scooter that the elderly could use. So we had disabled people actually taking part in the parade as well. So in accessibility being really key for us in our work. So, and this is a very special thing. This is themed the page of diversity. It is in the old British passport, and it is within it there is a photograph, a picture of a carnival costume on the diversity page. And I'm going to move this so you can see it. We have the Asian community, we have Scotland, and we have, and here at the bottom is a carnival costume on page 29 of the British passport before we left the European Union. So that was a very important moment for us, because that is a nod towards the acceptance of people from the diaspora making their new home and bringing their culture here to Britain, and Carnival being a key part of that culture. So the theme of the parade, this is the thing about those themes and making the right choices. So our angel of diversity here is representing on the page, on the diversity page in the British passport. And this I have included because we do many things with different communities as well, and trying to be inclusive. This is created for the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, for a mosque. For every year there's a parade, and we are working with an artist who is a Muslim artist, and she's absolutely amazing. And together we were able to put this parade together for the people. And it was just an exciting start to enable to show how the language of the visual language of Carnival can be used to unite communities, and that it would enable us to get over any barriers and boundaries so that we could create an exciting work for the community to experience. Stop share. What's going on? All right. And I would like to actually finish with something quite simple. This is, I need to move this as well so you can see. Yes, it's a fish. It's a set of fish. It's just some dolphins and a bit of sea of coral. Simple, but how do you make something that's very simple, original? How do you make it show the ingenuity of your people? To me, a carnival costume is about that. It's about being unique. It's about being original. And it's about showing the ingenuity within the team that's making it. So you can see how that foam is cut and how the dolphin is sculpted. You can see how the performer is wearing it. This is for the London New Year's Day parade, but it started as a carnival costume in Nottingham first, and then because we don't throw them away, we can be sustainable and then use these costumes again in something like the New Year's Day parade. I'm going to play this as a video. I might be shifting this thing around so it doesn't block you, because it will help you to see that the performance is really important. Where'd it go? Okay, sorry. Keeps moving about and disappearing. How important the performance is. It tells you that there are amazing engineers working to bring the costume to life so that the masquerader, let's go back, can perform and bring it. So there's us making and envisioning and creating, but then there is the energy that brings life and brings that joy. How he loves wearing his costume. Yeah, I'm in the moment, and taking on that vibe and sharing that moment of joy. And that's what Carnival is about in the end. It's that passing on of joy. And so through the theme and the way you bring your theme to life, you give the audience a very special experience and a moment that hopefully they will never forget. And I think I'm going to stop there.
Thank you so much, Clary, for that amazingly educational walk down your career history, which allows us to see how theme is so important, and there's a certain amount of mindfulness that goes into it and research, and that it's not just always about the beating and the glamour and the thing. It's sometimes about more the message that has to be told behind the costumes. And thank you very much for being able to give us that little bit of a glimpse into your crazy world and mind that you've got going on there.
Yeah, you
We,
see, in
pardon?
Notting Hill, it's impossible for me
Mhm.
because I lived through the 80s into the
Yes.
90s to
Hmm.
forget the reason for the season. You know,
Right.
in Notting Hill started because of the murder of a young man called Castle Cochrane. So the
Oh,
carnival did not evolve out of fun.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It evolved out of a need to bring the communities together so we could live together. It
so it was more of
continued.
a protest, emancipation
It's
type
yeah,
of
I'm a rebel,
thing.
man.
Oh, wow.
I'm a rebel,
Okay.
you know. When I get out
Okay.
on that street, hey, I have something to tell you. So you better sit there, listen, and watch what you're seeing. You know, we are not, to be taken lightly. We are a community, very creative, very talented, and we're very valuable, and we have a contribution to make. And I hope that that's what the work does. That when people see it, they think, "Wow, this is amazing work." And they should be considering, what is that? How is it made? Those are the questions I want people to be thinking, not about me, about it and what it's
No,
saying.
no, no, for sure. And I think also, but again, from how you presented things, I think that I think it's more clear to people that that there's costumes and then there's themes. I
Mhm.
think it really comes down to, right? So, and especially with things like your George Foreman costume, which was a tribute, which was beautiful and
Yeah,
impactful.
George
Um,
Floyd, the George Floyd costume.
yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was very, very impactful. And it makes us think that maybe sometimes we need to protest or make a statement versus just going for the glamour and the beauty, right?
But I love
Um,
the fact that if you don't mind me interjecting,
no,
Tony,
go,
the
go,
fact
go.
that you repurpose all your costumes, which is amazing, and you show the fact that again, it's not just about doing the costume, but there's a purpose behind each and every costume, and which you are now able to not just tell us about it, but you were able to explain into detail about the history, the passion, the reason as to why and how, even in the timely manner, it was used as well, even throughout certain times, even having to have it shown on the world stage for us to see it in 2012 or even after that. So that for me is not just timely, but also the fact that it is your purpose, is what you're doing. It's not just a niche market. It is who you are and what you stand for. So that for me is what is the most like standout of all the things that you have been doing. And of course you're sharing our culture, high five to being a rebel and doing it with grace.
Yeah, you took the Trini out of Trinidad, but you couldn't take Trinidad out of Trini.
Hey.
Yeah, I've lived more of
Well
my
done,
life in
Thankfully,
Tony.
but
England.
thankfully
Well
so,
done.
thankfully so, because
Yes.
otherwise certain things would have been lost in translation, right?
That's right. But it's really, that's one of the good things about being here in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Life is difficult all around, but England has actually, in the UK, has actually found ways to enable people to come like we did through. We made, we built the NHS, and we've done the buses and all those sorts of stuff. And our young people are able to grow still within our own culture. So my daughter can play steel pan because she learned it in her school here, born in this country. I couldn't do that when I was growing up in Trinidad. So there, and that has come because of the people who came before me. They came in the 50s and they brought their culture. And I have enormous respect for all of those people, because we have the Notting Hill Carnival because of the way they fought in the struggle between the death of Cochrane to the early 80s and the 90s. And then people like me come in the 70s, and what do we know? We don't know very much. And then it's like, okay, and we learn and we pick up and we do our work where we hold the tradition So we're telling stories like a griot. So we're holding true to our origin, but we're doing it in a contemporary context and with contemporary materials, holding true to the space between heaven and earth. So the scale for me is very, very important because that is the truth of the spirit.
Awesome.
Sorry.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Clary Salandy. I got your name correctly this time. And thank you so much for having not just the knowledge, but being able to teach us something new. And I'm still in awe of how you made all those costume, all those floats, and also identical. I know you probably have a lot of trial and error to even figure out some of the things, but I love it. And I'm sure everyone have the same respects to what I am sharing right now. So I believe, Lauren, you will want to take the floor as well.
Yes, well, we have actually a last question from our audience. It's coming from Nicola Williams, who says, thanks, Clary. Great to see you again and all your amazing work. Very purposeful, thoughtful, and provocative. The question is, do you still have your factory? How are you storing all of your amazing work? This is coming
Yes.
from Nicola from Cambridge Carnival International.
Yes, I still have our workshop space, which is in Harlesden. It was one of the first spaces opened that was on a main high street. So it wasn't in some little workshop or in a church hall or in a school. It was a purpose given space on the high street where people could actually walk past and see it. We still have it. We're run out of space a long time with our storage. Storage is a nightmare. But if we get rid of the costumes, then we have no way of generating an income because it's the costumes that's generating the income, and as we use in different spaces. So it's the space and our current situation that dictates the way the costumes are designed. So that costume exodus is just a bit of cloth that way and a cape that way means that we can have loads of those, but it just falls up into something tiny. So unfortunately, design is now being influenced by our current circumstance of not really having a lot of space. So making something like George Floyd's face where you can't close it down small or anything like that is probably not going to happen a lot for a while. But hey, what? We have it. So I just can't make more of those, but we can, that heritage is there. And I'm right in the process now, seeing how I can find a way to keep it. That is something actually I need to thank Wayne Barkley for. He did say to me ages ago, because he kept all his drawings, that he had all his drawings. I thought, oh, okay. And I thought, you know, really, I'll do that too. I kept all my drawings because then we have a heritage here in the UK, but we also have a diaspora heritage for Trinidad.
Very true.
Well done.
Very true. And probably one last little question for you. It's coming from Sarah, who's asking if there is a carnival museum in England.
No, there's not a Carnival Museum in England, but there are a number of exhibitions, and they've had a number of exhibitions, and there've been lots of talk about the possibility of creating such a thing. You know, everywhere in the world, somebody wants to do that. And in Nice, they have lovely spaces where you can go and see, the floats where they're made, but I don't think that they keep them forever. And in Brazil, there are spaces like that in Rio where you can go and see. But you know, every year you're creating something new, so to keep it forever is quite hard. This is why AI and digital is quite important for us to find a way to record our culture, because it may be that we won't be able to keep everything, you know, as I've got 35 years of work, drawings and things. It's really a big challenge.
Awesome. So on behalf of the
Caroline wants to speak.
Caroline.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Go ahead, love. I did not see you.
Clary, je suis honorée de vous rencontrer. Je suis Caroline Constantin du Carnaval de Nice. Annie Sidro m'a parlé de vous pendant des années et des années. Merci pour votre spectaculaire travail, magnifique. Je voudrais juste rebondir sur ce que vous disiez sur Nice. Les ateliers de Nice ne sont plus du tout ouverts au public pour des raisons de sécurité. Et à Nice, on ne voit rien du carnaval en dehors de la période du carnaval. Et je pense que à l'issue de ces 3 jours ensemble, on devrait réfléchir à un endroit commun ou une plateforme peut-être virtuelle commune pour faire valoir les arts, des artisanats d'art du carnaval.
Come on, Tony. What did she say?
Yes. Well, first, she said it's an honor to finally meet you. She's heard a lot of great things about you. And she mentioned that unfortunately, there are no more public showings or spaces to look at carnival works in Nice anymore. And that perhaps the conversation that we're having today is so where we can initiate that globally that we have whether a virtual space to keep all of those costumes and floats for the future generations because it's a lot of work that you're all putting in different aspects and not just that it's about culture but my personal opinion is part of our history that it has to be kept somewhere and I think that it brings us to a bigger conversation about how can we keep the works alive in all the different respective cities. So I think that it's something that we definitely have to start exploring to see how that can be made because it would be a shame that all of that beautiful work disappears and at the same time that this legacy is not there for the future generations to come.
No.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Caroline.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for this beautiful conversation. Thank you, Clary, for your presentation. Thank you to everyone who's attended the panels today. It was, just amazing as to kick this off. I feel very blessed and grateful to have everyone here today. Tomorrow is our day 2. Starting at 9 o'clock, we're starting with greeting the carnival. So we'll talk about everything how to keep things to be sustainable, reusable. We touched about it a lot today. And tomorrow with our guest, we'll find out more and also how can the government help us to get whether grants to help us do that turn and become a little bit more green in our events and carnivals. And we also have a masterclass on the rhymes and rhythms of carnival and the breath. So that will be a very interesting conversation that we'll have with Dr. Stella Wilson. And to finalize the day, it will be with Rodrigo Guima from Salo, Brazil, about branding and transforming your city. And part of the conversation that we had today, which will continue tomorrow, of how Carnival really is an expression of the people. It's part of the revolution. It's part of our history. And I'm really happy to have these topics and for all of us to share from around the world. So again, I thank you all for everything today and for the presentations.
And we thank you for doing this, that enabled us to meet each other. So we have some wonderful, because I've not met Caroline, but Caroline, I have been to Nice quite a few times in the past. We've done a lot lovely stuff in Nice. So it's lovely to meet people who I've heard about but not seen. So this is a lovely forum. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to wish everybody a great afternoon or evening from wherever you are in the world. And make sure to be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern as we continue on our summit day 2. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a blessed day, everyone.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.